evening. It's Wednesday, it's 6:30, and what does that mean? It is time for Serenity Night Live. I am going to just move my camera a little bit there because you can see my vintage stuff, and I'm not ready to show you guys that because I'm going to be selling it online. So what we're going to talk about today, to be honest, I have been the most disorganized today. Who has been really disorganized today? Is it because it's half term? Is it because my kids are at home and it's just driving me nuts? Today, I've been so disorganized, I didn't even know up until the last minute what I was going to talk about. So today we're going to talk about managing expectations. So let me introduce myself. My name is Shama. I am your host, queen of overcommitting and under-delivering. And as we're talking about managing expectations, please manage your expectations regarding this show because I don't have a clue. I've done some of my research, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough. So I don't know how long this show's going to last, but it is what it is. You might be asking, why am I so dressed up today? Today I had lunch with a family member that I haven't seen for a while now. It's probably been a year since I've seen them. So note to self, I need to make more connections with the people that I care about. Shout out to all of you. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about managing expectations. Yours, other people's, the unrealistic ones that ADHD loves to whisper in my ear constantly. Let's go before I expect too much of myself and end up crying my eyes out because I don't have a clue what to say. If you want to join me, by all means, please do join me, and you're welcome to talk. You can have your camera on or you can have it off, but please, if you have something to say, please do say it. Be ready to talk because this is a non-scrolling zone. Okay, so you have been told. Accountability challenges from last week. I think we said something about connecting with somebody for 15 minutes. I cannot remember because my ADHD went into overdrive that day because I was so excited for my guest. I think it was reconnecting with a loved one for 15 minutes a day. Did you guys do it? What is going to be your accountability challenge for this week? Drop me a chat or drop me a DM. It's entirely up to you. But can we just say, manage your expectations and don't be a superhuman. Do not overpromise and underdeliver like I've been doing quite recently. So grab your task. I'm going to start doing a deep dive into what happens to us when we are managing expectations. What does managing expectations mean to you? What do you do? How do you promise and deliver on time, in time, or do you not? What's your situation? Come and tell me. What does it mean for you to be managing expectations from other people as well? Not just all about you and what you can deliver, but what other people expect from you. Maybe they know that you're a neurodivergent. Maybe they don't. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are. Who knows? But the fact is, let's talk about it. So, the neurobiology behind expectation mismanagement. Let's talk about that for a second. So, some of the things that we come across are executive dysfunction, which happens here in the prefrontal cortex. It really struggles. We've got time blindness, dopamine-driven goal setting, and overcommitment. Some of the stuff that we do. So what happens? Let's talk about it. When it comes to the prefrontal cortex, the home of planning, prioritizing and sequencing, the brain knows what it's supposed to do, but it physically struggles to organize around it. So this is why I tell my clients to do as much planning in as much detail as possible, because it allows them to compartmentalize the priorities. What's going to be priorities? Even if you have to rate your jobs from 1 to 10 in order to figure out how important it is, you go for it. If you're a salesperson, obviously you're going to go for the money first, so go for the money. If you are a coach like me, what are you going to do? You're going to go for the clients first, right? And everything else gets put by the side. Your first and foremost is always going to be about the clients. So how can we get our head around the idea that actually needing to organize? Oh, hello. One Boy 3 wants to join me on my live show. We're going to be talking about managing expectations. Are you going to be ready to speak? Because I am going to add you now. Free to come on at any time. I've accepted you, so if you want to come, by all means do so. We're talking about nope, he's declined. Fair enough, no problem, but you can just listen. If there's anything that you want to write down in the comments, feel free to do so. We are talking about managing our expectations, so manage your own expectations regarding this show is all I'm going to say on the subject. So Time blindness is another issue we have. Do you have time blindness? What's your sense of timing like? Is it now or not now? Or is it later on, but then you forget about it, which means everybody's now expecting you to do something later on, but it doesn't happen. So how do we manage those expectations? These make deadlines feel very, very imaginary. And because of that, we put it off until all of a sudden it's right in front of our face and that deadline is real. And that's when we really take action. So that's what happens to us. What else happens to us? Do we need a dopamine driven goal setting? Do you overcommit because the idea of doing all the things that gives you the temporary dopamine hit, but then the follow through crashes? Why does it crash? Because we're trying to do so many things at once, because we're getting all these things. And the voice in our head is telling us, don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to, I don't know. There's loads and loads of tasks. I mean, I've got show notes. I've got my strategy call sheets. I've got stuff to put up on Vinted. I've got, you know, earrings that I want to sell, that I want to post, and, you know, self-coaching that I need to do. How do I fit it all in? It's all about prioritizing, and it's all about getting your goals set in such a way, if you can, make them as simple as possible, but as specific as possible. It's really, really important you go down the specific route, because the more specific you are, the chances are you'll be able to hit it, because you'll know exactly what you need to do. Okay, so just a tip for next time. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria. When someone else expects something from you and you say yes because the fear of disappointment hits you like a truck. I have that problem. I say yes to everything because I don't want to disappoint other people, but it's at the expense of my own mental health, because now I'm spreading myself so thinly on so many different projects. I say yes to everything. Yes, let's go and do that. Yes, let's go and have that business idea. Yes, let's have a meeting. Today, I had meetings. I had a lunch to do. I had to get ready for my show. I had to take my kids everywhere. And on top of that, I was coaching. So you can imagine my day was just literally like, my brain exploded at some point, and I needed a lot of coffee. But then I forgot that coffee has no effect on me whatsoever, and caffeine makes me sleepy. So go figure that one out. So we always say yes when we really mean, please don't ask me, just so you know. So if we're saying yes and we're saying a tentative yes, just ask us one more time and just say, are you sure you can do this? Because if you can't, it's okay, because that takes away the pressure from us, and we think to ourselves, okay, you know what? Maybe I can do this later, or maybe I can factor it in. So I will have some tips for you later as to how you can manage these expectations. But for now, we're just going to go through what happens. The emotional loop. Perfectionism is my biggest bugbear. Everything has to be perfect right here, right now. If I'm going to do something, I have to do it perfectly. Otherwise, there's no point. But here's the thing. What I've noticed is that I've learned now that it's okay not to be perfect. And what's taught me is actually being on this show, because anything can happen. I might get guests. I might not have anybody listening. I might have people that come in and then duck out because they find, you know, the conversation really boring, because here they can see is this woman just having a monologue all to herself. But I've been doing it for 8 weeks now. So for me, I'm okay with it now. I'm okay not being perfect. But most ADHDers often develop the compensatory, I can't even speak now, I'm so overwhelmed. We try to overachieve to cover up our own inconsistency. So we try and do things perfectly to cover up the fact that we haven't done it on time, or the fact that we haven't done it to, I don't know, to their expectations, but we think it's perfect, but we question our perfection. So it kind of spirals, and we overthink all the time, and you can see where the overthinking is beginning to take place. And somehow we need to stop it where it is. And if we don't get it done, there's that obvious shame. We have the shame cycle: expectation, under delivery, then it goes on to guilt, and then we overcompensate, and then we have a burnout, and then we do it all over again. So we have the expectation, the under delivery, the guilt, overcompensate, burnout, repeat all over again. And you can see that cycle goes round and round and round, and there's just no way of coming out of it until someone just tells us to just stop, or we burn out and then we can't do anything and we're just useless to everybody else. And then that's where we have our major reset and promise ourselves that we'll never do it again, only to go and do it the same day anyway. So that's what we do. What else do we do? The hyperfocus paradox. This is my favorite one because this is what happens to me. Sometimes we exceed expectations, but only in one area, and it comes at the cost of everything else. So for me, if like my hyperfocus is only on, I don't know, I don't have a very good example of this, for example, but maybe in my dancing, when I'm hyper-focusing, maybe I'll hyper-focus on one song because I love it so much, but then I'll forget to do all the other songs. Actually, I do have a good example where I was doing a medley for one client, and I was so fixated with this medley and its perfection that I ran out of time to do all the other medleys, and they needed the medleys that day, and I promised them that I would. So you can see what happens. But luckily, I'm very, very lucky in that regard that I've got good people around me that understand how I work, and they're okay managing my expectations for me because God knows I need that help. Oh, hello, Tandy. Nice to see you. So we're talking about managing our expectations and what do we do to manage our expectations, and how and what happens with ADHD when we have to manage other people's expectations and other people have expectations of us as well. So far we've talked about the time blindness, we've talked about the executive dysfunction, the inability to actually prioritize because we've taken on so much, and then all of a sudden everything just goes to shit, basically. Dopamine driven goal settings, you know, we want to say yes to everything. Yes. We'll say yes to everything, and then we just don't do any of it because we cannot follow through. But the idea of someone being happy that we've said yes to them is a dopamine hit for us. So be very careful when someone is saying yes to everything and they're spreading themselves so thinly, they don't have a clue what they're going to do first. And obviously then the fear of disappointment gives us that rejection sensitivity. So you can tell that we're just constantly overthinking whether we're doing the right things or whether we're not. So what can we do? Actually, no. Let's talk about the external expectations. So we have our own expectations of ourselves, which is quite disappointing. I disappoint myself on a regular basis because I'm thinking to myself, why did I forget this? Or, you know, why have I not been able to get to my self-coaching in time? Because I really wanted to get to that module and finish it off, but I wasn't able to do it on time because other things got in the way, and it just goes on from there. External expectations, the social minefield. This is an absolute, do you know what, to be honest, when I get excited about seeing people, I completely forget and I just kind of say whatever comes to my head. Masked incompetence and misread competence. You've hidden when you've hidden your struggle so well that people now expect that consistency, and I have no script for disappointing them. So if I've done something really well, chances are it was a fluke, and I don't know whether I'd be able to recreate that again, but I would give it a go, but it might not be to the same. I can't say that for my dancing. I'm always perfect with my dancing. I think I'd probably relate that to maybe this thing, doing my shows. Sometimes I have really good shows, sometimes I don't, but every time the intention is designed to help and to kind of create something for my audience, for them to understand that it's okay to have all of these imperfections and still have a really, really good life. Hi, Lace. Nice to see you. And good luck. I speak very fast on this because I've got very limited time. Invisible labor. Managing ADHD symptoms is a labor other people don't see. Let me say that again. Managing my ADHD symptoms is so much hard work. Other people don't see how much work I have to put into it. Results get judged against neurotypical standards. So it goes back to my way of doing things, my way of working, my way of processing information is very different from maybe somebody else's. But other people don't know that because I don't have it on my forehead, you know, ADHD. Maybe I should, because I always have mug written on my forehead. I might as well have ADHD written on there anyway. But not many people know it because I've hidden it so well, because my struggles are real. I've masked it so well because of fear of disappointment, fear of people being mad for what I've said, or so I've had to really work hard, and sometimes it's exhausting, and I have to manage my own expectations about how exhausting this really is. But other people don't see that exhaustion. They just see me going blah, 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 blah. and that I'm really confident and I'm like really out there but inside I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, woman? You're not making any sense. No one's listening to you. Nobody cares. But I know you all care. I know you all do, really. So tell me you care, all right? Because I need to hear it. Cultural and familial pressure is huge, especially if you are in communities that are very family orientated. So old school South Asian communities, Greek, Spanish, Italian, maybe old school English cultural families, or even in high achieving families where there's little tolerance for neurodivergence that process things, especially when you come from a neurotypical family who are like high achievers. So, for example, I don't have a logical example that I can draw attention to, but if you come from a family that have, lawyers and accountants and people that have gone to university, and then there's little old me who did go to university but didn't end up doing anything vocational from her university and is now a coach because that is the vocation she has settled into. So there's little tolerance for that. When I left forensics, my mum was not happy about it. I remember this one time when we were on an aeroplane. I think we were going to Pakistan, or we were going somewhere, we might be going to Dubai or something like that. And there was a bit of an emergency. And my mum, bless her soul, she's passed away 9 years ago, so I can say this openly. You're not watching. So I can say this. So basically we were on this plane and there was an emergency. And, as a forensic scientist, mum equates anything to do with any kind of, if I've done a medical or a physiological background or I've done anything like that, chances are she would say, she could do doctors or something. You know how it is when you've got an Asian parent and they want to make you look good. So a forensic scientist, it shows that she's a doctor. Anyway, so this one time we were on this plane, they were asking for an emergency and they were asking for a doctor. And obviously, mum was going, see, that could have been you. See, that could have been you. And I'm like, Mum, give it a rest. It's not going to happen. And she was like, you don't see them asking to save a PDF, do you? And that stayed with me for a very long time. And I felt rejected big time because I realized that I had not managed the expectations of my mum and that I would feel like a complete failure. So do you feel like that? Do you feel like a failure if you're not meeting the expectations of your family? Does your family have to live your life, or do you? So I put it to you that you have to do whatever makes you happy and manage your own expectations. And don't worry about managing the expectations of others because it doesn't matter. It's your future. And I know I'm being a bit controversial being South Asian myself, but I've got kids. I don't want my children to feel that I have expectations of them. My only expectation of my children is that they're happy, they're healthy, and they know how to look after themselves, and they can just learn from their mistakes. That's it. That's the bare minimum I expect from them. Anything else is a bonus. If they do really well and they're in the vocation that they love, that's for them. It's not for me. It's not gonna help me. It's gonna help them, right? So reframing and recovery. What can we do about reframing and recovery? Maybe replacing I should be able to with, given how my given how my brain works, what's the kindest way to approach this? That's something that you can actually say without managing the expectations of somebody else or that other person expecting from you. You're saying to them, you're not saying yes, you're saying, I can do it, but is this going to work in the way that I process it? Is that going to work for you? Is what you're really saying. Given how my brain works, what's the kindest way to approach this? I didn't say hello to anybody, so I'm just going to say hello to some people. So I want to say hi to Simply Sell. I want to say hi to Risham Shaheen. I want to say hi to One Boy 3, Tandy Verdi, Lace, and Amber. Hi, Amber. Nice to see you too. We're talking about managing expectations. How do you manage your own expectations, and how do you manage other people's expectations of you? From an ADHD point of view, obviously there's a lot of overthinking involved. Some of the things that we talked about before was executive dysfunction, time blindness, dopamine driven goals, where we're saying yes to absolutely everything and spreading ourselves so thinly. Today was a typical example of me not being able to manage my own expectations as to what I could achieve. Even though I've been up since 6 o'clock every morning, I still don't seem to have enough time in the day to get things done. I haven't even made dinner yet, and I've got to go and make that as soon as I finish this show. So that's kind of things that I'm having to manage, and my own disappointment of not being able to feed my kids on time. That's another show. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time about parenting. I've got a fantastic parent coach who's coming over. Actually, I have so many guests in the next few weeks. I am so excited. We're going to be talking about loneliness. We're going to be talking to the Desi Network. We're going to be talking about boxing. I've got the first female Sikh boxer who won her accolade. Honestly, my brain is going blank right now, but she's coming, and I will be telling everybody about it soon. And yeah, we've got so many people coming onto the show because they love it, and they love the idea that what I'm trying to do is raise awareness for neurodivergence in our community, but for everybody, not just for the South Asians, but you could be white, brown, Chinese, you could be whatever. You could be whatever. If ADHD isn't discriminatory, neither am I. All right, so just remember that. Expectation buffer, another thing that we can do for practical shifts that actually work. Another thing that we can do. Hi, Uma, nice to see you. Thank you for joining my live show. Like I said, we're talking about managing expectations, managing my expectations, managing other people's expectations. What do we do? So far we've talked about all the different ways that perfectionism or the shame cycle or the hyperfocus affects us, and sometimes we exceed those expectations, but we can't be consistent with them because sometimes it's a fluke. So we're talking about that. Hi, Vicky. Expectation buffer. I think the best way to deal with that is to create, you know how if you're in sales, you would have objectives. So you'd have your top objective, you'd have your middle objective, and you'd have your lowest objective. Like, what's the lowest thing? So if your highest objective was to get a sale, if the middle objective was to get an appointment that would lead to a sale, and the lowest one was that you managed to get an email address, it's still something. So manage your expectations. So what's the minimum viable effort in this case? What is the expected effort? And what would be the bonus on top? Maybe if you can reframe your task and say, okay, if the minimum viable effort means that I just sent out that email, and the expected effort was I sent out the email followed up with a phone call, and the bonus from that was that that phone call turned into a sale, or whatever, it turned into a coaching, or whatever it is you guys are doing right now. Think about how you can manage your expectations by creating these buffers. That way you're managing your expectations and you're always winning. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So there are tools available. Use task previewing to engage with reality and do an expectation audit to assess what's realistic and, you know, how it could work for and whose expectations there are. So I've got a really, really good way of doing that. Some of the things that I talk about with my clients, especially on a Friday when we do reflective calls at the end of the week or whenever they have their reflective calls. Reflective calls for me means that it allows my clients to evaluate themselves, not me evaluating them, but they get to evaluate themselves. So have questions ready. So get a pencil and pen ready if you want to, because this will be quite useful for you guys as well. Think about when you are evaluating and you want to bridge the gap for next week and what you want to achieve. So your first one would be, what did I accomplish? What have I accomplished this week? What have I not accomplished this week? What did I do well, regardless of accomplishment and non-accomplishment? And what did I not do well, regardless of accomplishment and non-accomplishment? So think about, where can I improve? Where can I do well? So you're celebrating your wins. You're even celebrating the wins, even if you didn't accomplish them. You're saying, well, even if I didn't accomplish it, I did this really well. And that's a real big thing, especially for us with ADHD. We need to feed our egos and say, you know what, we're doing a good job. Regardless of how we do it, we're still doing a good job. And we need that. Okay. So burnout. what happens when you don't manage your expectations? When expectations are unmet, you start believing your own stories or the stories that people have of you. So obviously you're going to get criticism. Oh, you're so unreliable. Oh, you're so lazy. Oh, you can't do this right. Oh, you don't know anything. You start believing it, and that becomes a problem. You start holding on to these stories about being unreliable, about being unworthy, about being incapable, because even though sometimes people say it. I know loved ones have always said it. That's all I've ever heard, that I was too much, and that but I was never unreliable because I was too scared to be unreliable, because I had expectations from my parents. Being the eldest child, the expectation was that I would be the more responsible one, looking after my brother, going to work first, so bringing in money. Hi Leah, we're talking about managing our expectations. What are your expectations that you feel that you struggle with? We've talked about various things so far. We've talked about, perfectionism, rejection sensitivity, masked incompetence versus competence, invisible labor. We've talked about cultural, familial pressures. So it makes such a big difference. So one of the things that happens to us when we don't manage our expectations, like I said, was burnout and identity collapse. When expectations are always unmet, you start believing in the stories that people talk about, or you start telling yourself that you're unreliable, or you're unworthy, or you're incapable of doing things. Relationships also rupture because the guilt of letting others down becomes so heavy for us. It's easier to ignore than to actually go ahead and say, yes, I couldn't do it, or we cancel last minute, or we completely disappear. What do you guys do? How do you deal when you've not met expectations of somebody? When we have the guilt of letting others down and we don't want to talk to anybody, we don't tell them why, and that often causes a lot of issues, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding. So self-trust erosion, over-promising to yourself and then not following through, also weakens your own integrity. And so again, going back up to the identity collapse, then you start believing your stories about being unreliable, even though you know that you've just overpromised yourself. That's all you've ever done. It doesn't mean that you're not reliable. It just means that you've taken on too much. So just sort that out a little bit, yeah? Healing expectations, new framework for ADHDers, or for those people who are not in ADHD. They don't have to be, but you have to be honest. It doesn't matter whether you're neurodivergent or you're not. You have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to be brutally honest. No one's asking you to be brutally honest. But you can say, okay, look, you know what? This is how I'm feeling today. What can I actually do? And even if that means that's just top 3 things that you're going to do today, that's okay. And even if you just get that one thing done today, the top priority that you would have loved to have done before the day was out. And, we can get dramatic in this as well and sort of say, well, how would you like it? If the world ended tomorrow, which job would you have liked to have done? Start off from there and then work your way down in terms of priority. That often helps. But be brutally not brutally honest, just honest with yourself about what can I actually do today? And even if I feel guilty for not doing more, is it okay for me to just do this? Yes, it is. It's okay. When I have migraines, if all I do is just talk to the clients and do nothing more, I'm okay with that. My self-care comes first. My mental health comes first. Because if I burn out trying to do everything whilst I've got a migraine, it's not going to happen. But I could talk to people because that often helps me not think about my headaches. And then I'm quite happy talking to people, saying, oh, I want a bit of sympathy. That's the only reason why I do it. Relationship scripts. This is really important because you can say, I can't promise consistency, but I care deeply enough to keep going and try it. Can we build flexibility? Oh, Leah said, yeah. And if you're partner takes over all the tasks. So does that mean you have now expectation for your partner to take over the tasks, or does that mean that the expectation is due that your partner thinks you're not going to be able to do it, so therefore he does it himself or she does it himself? I don't know. Or did I get it right? Anyway, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Let me know. If your partner takes over all the tasks because they feel that you're incompetent, what does that actually mean? I don't know how much of that you got, Leah, because you're ducking in and out, but that's okay. Listen back to it and comment later, because maybe we can talk about that a little bit later for you. But can we build flexibility into something that cannot promise consistency, but because you care deeply, you're offering flexibility solutions? You feel guilty because he tasks over everything. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes when I feel that, so one of the things I feel guilty about today, for example, was I didn't have time to go shopping for the food that I wanted to make tonight, which means now, because I had to go and do the show, I now have to go and get my food later, which means I don't know whether my kids are hungry, and I'm feeling really guilty because I haven't made food on time. Do you know what I mean? So we're beginning to spiral, and I could go round and round and round for ages. Leah saying, and if your partner takes over all the tasks, you feel guilty if he takes over everything. Okay, so maybe there must be something, Leah, that you would like to do. Okay, how do you deal with the guilt? I think it's about communication, and it's about managing your own expectations, Leah. Think about, what is the things that you are good at? Which are the things that you know that you can take over, and manage the expectations on that alone. And then when you get used to doing that, you don't feel so guilty. And when you've communicated with your partner saying, listen, I can't promise consistency, but like I said, I care deeply. Can we build flexibility into this? So maybe having a rota, maybe having your partner, I don't know, just what's the word I'm looking for? Support you on this, because you've communicated to them that you want to do these tasks, you're feeling overwhelmed. What can I do? That reduces the guilt, because it's the not speaking and keeping everything internal. That's where the guilt sets in, because you're having your own stories and he's got his own stories, and somehow they're not communicating those stories to each other. So if you can, have expectations for yourself regarding the kind of things that you can definitely deal with. Deal with those with absolute confidence, and then start bringing things in. Keep that communication going. Tell them, hey, look, I'm struggling with this task. What do you think I should do? What is the best way to do it? And hopefully your partner will support you on this, okay? And come back to me and let me know whether that worked or not, because I'd be really interested. But the idea is where the guilt is coming from in the first place. Think about it. Is it coming from him, or is it coming from you? Because I'm thinking to myself, if you've got these stories about how you feel about each other, or about how you feel about yourself, maybe we need to remove those stories and just have ourselves a blank page where we can now start paving a different future for ourselves, So like I said, think about the stories that you've got for yourself. Where does that guilt come from? Is it coming from you, or is it coming from him? Because if it's coming from him, then you need to communicate how your brain processes. But if it's coming from you, how can you remove your own limiting beliefs in order to create that space for you to then start thinking about what you are good at? All right, because then if you're thinking about what everybody else thinks that you're good at, that's not going to help you. That's not going to even help them. So think about what it is that you can do, and do it with absolute confidence. Okay, I hope that helps. Hi KB, hi Yadu, nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining me. We're talking about managing expectations. We're talking about how we can have a new framework for those people that have an issue with managing other people's expectations. So far we talked about being honest. Be honest with yourself. What can I actually do today? And even if I feel guilty for not doing more, it's okay for me to have done this. So going back to your top, middle and bottom objectives, if I at least get this done, I'm happy. If I can get that middle one done, I'm happy. And if I can get the bonus one done, big happiness. Yeah. Celebrate showing up. the time I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I only got this because it occurred to me that I was not managing my own expectations as to what I was going to do. Plus I talked about a client and I had a bit of a moan about I had a moan with her to say I don't even know what I'm going to talk about tonight, and I've got this show. She was like, well, I had a bit of a mad day as well, so let's talk about managing expectations. I was like, do you know what, that's a really good idea. And so here I am talking about managing expectations, and she's not even bothered to turn up. But I'm sure she'll watch it later. You can watch this later. I hope the information on this has been really, really helpful in regards to managing expectations. And if you feel that you want to rivet, look, I need some water because I have talked for probably 35 minutes, non-stop, 36 minutes. So what was I going to say? Just show up. You're showing up. Rewire your mind to celebrate effort, not just all about your outcomes. Where can we rewards? Say that again, Leah. I'm not sure what you meant. Oh, where can we rewatch? It's available on my Instagram, but certain ones are also available on YouTube, the channel Serenity Night Live. Look that up. Most of my stuff is up there, I think up to week 8. I don't know how many weeks I've been doing this, by the way. I have no idea. I don't even know when I started this, but the pilot one was really crap, so don't watch that one, okay? It's just funny, and it's just funny things happened throughout the whole time, but it also shows my evolution as I've been trying to get this. So go and check out my YouTube channel at Serenity Night Live. I will put it on the show notes if you guys need that. I'm everywhere, yeah? If you need me, just DM me, ask me questions. I'll be more than happy to ask you questions back, because that's what I do. I'm a coach. I do not have all the answers. I only have questions to help you get to your answer. So I hope that's helpful. So celebrate showing up. Celebrate being here. You guys are here. You've celebrated showing up. You've supported me. I've managed my expectations because I didn't expect anybody to come. And yet here you are. So thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody who's supported me thus far in my journey. We are getting bigger. I am getting some guests, and I'm really, really excited. My following is growing, so I'm really happy. And I'm managing my expectations for this show, because to be honest, the show is more about me healing and me talking through what's going on in my head, and you guys may be taking away something from it. So if that helps you, I'm happy. I'm also on Gutcast. Shout out to Gutcast. I'm also on there where I ask questions to guests, and sometimes they're quite insightful. Sometimes I have no idea what I've asked. Just the way it goes. So that's it when it comes to our deep dives. Do you guys have any questions for me? Now's the time to quickly type everything while I do my closing statements, because I'm a lawyer. Closing statements, what the heck was I thinking when I said that? So what's the moral of tonight? You know, set your expectations like you set your timers. Short, specific, and with grace. And if they go off too soon, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And remember one thing, please, all right? You're not failing. You're just not a productivity robot. You're just you. So be kind to that petulant 3-year-old toddler ADHD brain. She's trying her best, yeah? She's trying to survive just like you are. And I talk about them in third person because my ADHD is a petulant 5-year-old who just talks and is impulsive and does stupid things and says stupid things and is bonkers, quite frankly. But I love it. I love it so much because it makes me me. And if I wasn't me, I'd probably not be doing this, and I'd be very boring. So be kind to your own brain, yeah? It's doing her best, their best, his best, its best. Whatever pronouns you want to call it. My pronouns are try me. Anyway, forget that. That was not supposed to be funny. Hi, Ifra. Nice to see you. I'm almost finishing, by the way. Why are you guys always so late? Let me know what you got done in body doubling. I'm on at 6:30 every evening, not every evening, every Wednesday evening. I'm on at 6:30, or you guys can just watch it afterwards. I really, really hope you get something from this, because it gives me so much, and I really want you guys to get something from it as well. So let me know what you got done in the body doubling. What were you doing? Were you ironing those clothes while you were listening to me drone on? I try and make my voice sound really floaty and airy so that, you know, it's engaging and stuff like that, because that's what I was taught to do as well. And if you did set an accountability goal, check in next week. But until then, lower your expectations a little bit. In fact, don't have any expectations this week at all. Because if you don't have any expectations, you're never going to be disappointed, and you're always going to be pleasantly surprised, and you'll always be happy. And, you know, raise your own self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. I tell myself off all the time, but then I also give myself a bar of chocolate. So I do like myself on a regular basis. And I pat myself on the back on a regular basis when I've achieved a show, and I think to myself, do you know what? That was a really, really good show, and I'm really, really happy. So till then, lower your expectations, raise your self-compassion, be happy. Rewire your mind to celebrate everything. Look around you. You've got so much to celebrate. What have you got to celebrate? You've got so much. You're here. You've got to see another day. You've got another chance to make a difference for your future. You know, when I went on this course, this training course, one of the things that they said is that every day when you let go of what happened the day before, you're creating space, a blank space, to carve out another future. Now it's up to you to hold on to those stories and carry on your future as it is, or you can make that change. Let me know what you guys are going to do. Let me know what you guys thought of this show. My name is Shama. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for listening to me for 45 minutes. I'm going to go and feed my kids. You guys go ahead and manage your expectations and manage other people's expectations by not having any expectations at all. See you soon. Bye.